Te taito ke rā.
Northland.
Papa. Collaboration.
Kia ora. Ko Claudia Lyons toku ingoa. No Scotland, me Ireland, oku tupuna. Ki te oho au ke whangarei. My name is Claudia Lyons. I live in Whangarei, Aotearoa, and I'm part of Collaboration Taitokido. Today, I'll chat with Chris Neal, a Taitokido local and someone who has been involved in the primary industries for over 30 years. Both Chris and I have been a part of CTT since its inception. Chris's passion for and understanding of how collaboration works and will work in region is simply contagious. If you want to better understand collaboration, then you'll really enjoy this chat. And as Chris says, the whole has to be greater than the sum of its parts. So let's get into it. Kia ora, Chris. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, Claudia. I've lived here for over 3 decades. So in that, it's work, play, raise a family. I guess Northland is home for me now. For me, background, agriculture has been focus of my career most of the time. I've also enjoyed time in the visitor industry, done consultancy work, marketing, national, international, ran an engineering business, was in a boat building business, which was fun. And currently I'm CE for a Northland farming company and leading the process of change for them.
You and I were at the beginning together of the CTT journey and was keen to kind of talk about the different things for us that kind of sparked us getting involved in this kaupapa. So I guess for me, it was that I moved back to the region and I was working for MPI. And it didn't seem to matter which part of the region I was working in or what sector I was talking to or the farming system that we were visiting, but these macro challenges that were on the tip of everyone's tongue was the same. And we didn't really have a space that I could see for producers from across the different sectors to come together and really tackle these challenges as a region. What was it for you that sparked you getting involved?
I was involved quite closely in creating and delivering Extension 350. And as it progressed, the obvious question was, what's next? Because this thing had a finite time it ran. And for me, it required looking at the opportunities that collaboration could bring. So looking for things like social and economic benefits for the region. An important part of learning for me through the process was that meaningful engagement, consultation. I mean, they're sort of words, but they're about making sure that the people in this sector really are seeing something that they want to be involved in. Otherwise, it's blimmin' hard work. And looking out there and saying, well, if we can get cross-sector collaboration happening here, then those synergies, I believe, will be really powerful and give us some successes that will make a difference to the region.
Yeah, you've obviously been involved in other things, and we could take all of those learnings and build on what's been done in the past to try and make it, something new and something fit for purpose. So CCT was originally tasked to answer the question, what are the benefits to community resilience and business prosperity if different primary industry sectors were brought together to address shared challenges and opportunities at a regional level, which sounds like a lot of hype words and a lot of big words. So if I was to ask you, how would you describe CTT to producers, what would you say?
Probably a little generic and also possibly using some buzzwords. I'll try not to, but it would look like an opportunity to explore and deliver collaborative activities with an intent to deliver an overall outcome that's greater than the sum of its parts. It's being a believer in the sum of its parts, or the whole has to be greater than the sum of its parts.
That whole unity and working together to move forward kind of intention is definitely what I try and get across to people as well. What do you see as the main challenges for Kaitokiro as a region? Obviously, we've talked about, previously I mentioned about how these macro challenges that we're all facing are the same. So in your perspective, what are they? What are the really key ones that we're tackling? And more specifically, what does that mean for people working in the primary sector and those sectors kind of linked to it?
So what we're looking at here is a journey of change. And the challenges for the journey of change here are probably typical across other projects that might be running too. And the first one for me is actually finding the time and energy to identify and do something new while you're actually holding your current business together. That's blimmin' hard going.
It is.
Another one, I guess, is being brave enough to trust yourself and the others in a collaborative process to do something different. And there are always naysayers out there telling you what can't be done. So it's important to trust yourself and feel the strength and support of others around you. I guess the third one for me would be that making a commitment and doing something that'll be new and challenging, while it may seem outrageous in front of the skeptics and critics, you just go, I'm going to do it anyway.
Absolutely. And I guess we've been underway for nearly 2 years, and we've had over, I think the last time I looked, we had over 50 individual producers contributing to the journey so far, representing over 13 different primary industry sectors. And we've kind of talked about, this hype word, buzzword collaboration and what it means. But if you're looking at the scale of which we've operated and engaged and the levels that we've engaged at, why is it that collaboration itself, if you demystify it as a buzzword, why is it so important to having long-term success in your perspective?
Well, I'll start in the generic and hopefully get down to something more specific. Many years ago, I was introduced to this one line that says, if I continue to do what I'm doing, I'll continue to get what I'm getting. So I believe in that. And my sense is that Northland needs to go and find its own solutions and to achieve something quite extraordinary, so that it's getting more than it's currently getting. And for me, this collaboration Taitokoro, where we're bringing people together, is going to be that catalyst for change, rather than relying on an outside agency or one or two people to come up with a bright idea and do it. So that bringing people together to find the solution is a critical part of making it happen. And why is it important? We used to talk about this thing called big, hairy, audacious goals, the BHAG. I'm showing my age here, but most people who know me know I'm getting on it. But
let's explore that.
Yeah. And so this is about finding and delivering something that is right out there. And I quite enjoy that. And my experience is that to deliver something like that on the scale that we're looking at does require that input from different cultures, different experience, different knowledge, different personalities. And when you bring those together with a common purpose and a desire to make something happen, so this is the essence of collaboration, believing in something together, then we can go to it. And the risk that's been sort of loaded on us around the various things like COVID that have interrupted the flow is folk get a little bit disaffected by the fact that, oh, Craig, all we've done is talk about it and we actually haven't done anything. So in that regard, I think we have to be kind to ourselves and go, yes, we believe this thing will work. And yes, we are big enough and strong enough to work through that.
Oh, I really like that answer. Oh, it's so good. Also, I'm a little bit biased here, obviously, but
Really?
Yeah, hugely. But I do feel like Northland has an amazing culture and amazing, I don't know, just like natural ability to come together, wānanga, figure out an idea, and then go and do it. So I guess part of CTT for me was always about amplifying the nature and the, I guess, outlook and disposition of the people who live and work here as well, which I think has always been an exciting part of it for me.
It'd be fair to say that there is an attitude in Northland that we do it our way. And you find it in other regions too. It's sort of a parochial response. And I credit Ngāpuhi for that. It's been a Ngāpuhi response for centuries. And woohoo, if we've got that, let's go.
Let's go. Let's grab it and run with it. As you're well aware, when this initiative, when CTT started, we had it mainly focused on really bringing producers in terms of the people who have skin in the game in the primary industries, bringing them together. But over our journey of learning, it's been very clear that it's more than that. And that's really led to us including the tourism and hospitality providers within our network. And you were a huge advocate / the starter of that kind of thought of inclusion, that it has to be bigger than the primary sector. Can you talk through a little bit more around when did this dawn on you? Why is this inclusion and increase in scope important to achieving CTT's overall goals?
As I mentioned earlier, I've operated a business in the visitor industry. And in that time, and since then, I've watched considerable public investment, financial investment in the visitor sector in Northland. And it tended to create a them-us response in the wider community, of thems that are getting in money and the us that isn't. And I've also watched the visitor industry sort of rise and fall like the tide, depending on what global or national issues are sort of interfering with what they're trying to do. I guess my vision here is that Northland could realise much greater value, both economic and social, by finding a means for domestic and international visitors to engage and feel a part of Tautokarea. And alongside that, we have New Zealand's largest domestic market already on our roads and at our doors. So it's there for us to take. And I believe that people don't need to live here to proudly feel connected and supportive of this region, but we do need to build a broad network that they can connect with. And through this connection, we can gather their ideas for future endeavours and also create within them an emotionally motivated market for both products and services. And I'm a huge believer in emotionally motivated markets.
Yeah. So again, it's that doubling down on, we already have great people and great opportunities here. So let's bring them together and kind of do it bigger and better together.
And you can add to that the I don't know what the amount of money that's been invested in promoting tourism in Northland, but I see an opportunity to take that investment and do more with it by engaging a wider group of people in providing something for those who are coming in here, either looking for a product or a service or an experience or whatever it is.
And by a wider group of people, who do you mean by that?
Oh, I'm looking at the primary sector. And the immediate response is, oh, okay, so you want us all to do homestay. And I go, no, I don't think so.
Glamping. Everyone's doing glamping.
Yeah. Well, it might work for some, but it doesn't work for everybody. But if we take it out and say, okay, if there was some way to have the products that we present, be it from a beef farm, a dairy farm, a vineyard, an orchard, whatever, that this is proudly Northland. And if you want a Northland experience, this is part of the Northland experience. Now, this won't be for everybody. There will be those who want to supply Fonterra and will push their cattle through AFCO. But if you look at the amount of produce that actually comes out of Northland, it's not that great. So how do you take that and position it in the market with an emotional buyer who says, I really, really want this because I really, really believe in Northland and all these wonderful things that it allows me to experience? the question lies, is there a premium in the market? I don't know, but I suspect there is. The other I don't know is how much work it's going to actually take to get it there. It won't be easy, but then not many things that are really good are easy.
No, and the beauty of working together is that for every I don't know that you have, somebody else does know.
That's
So
what we keep looking for.
If you bring enough good people together, hopefully the I don't knows reduce and the I knows increase is the goal.
Well, the other part that sits with that, of course, is that those people have their own networks, and within their networks, there may be people who don't know. So if you or I are limited to our networks, that constrains what we can access. Push the door open.
I mean, that's even been like what you've just mentioned there. That's been like a pretty common approach throughout the initiative for the last 2 years. You know, the whole no one has the ultimate network, but collectively we do. And that's how the sector navigator concept was created. So when we, just to explain to people listening, when we started and we thought, right, so we want to bring producers together to talk about collaborative areas of opportunity, how do we get the right people into the room? And we thought, well, none of us knows everyone, but we all know people who are connected and really good at what they do and really well respected by the people that they know. So what if we brought those people together and told them about the mission of what we're doing, and then they went out through their own networks and identified those future thinking producers that we wanted to be a part of this kaupapa. So, you know, examples like that where the really living that reality of the sum of the parts are not greater than the sum of the whole, or whatever that saying is, which I can never get right the right way around. You know, but like that's really been something that has resonated throughout the program.
And there's a part in there, and it comes back to this being brave to ask others to participate, being brave and trusting them that, yes, they will bring the right people into the room. And I have to say that the progress that you've led to date is outstanding in bringing those people into the room. And
yeah. I mean, not like, yeah, I've been outstanding.
Well, you have. Yeah.
I've tried very hard. It's my life goal to be outstanding at something. But we do have, you know, amazing group of people and producers and a range of networks and sectors and sub-regions and cultures and age groups and things all involved. And that's definitely not been an accidental outcome. That's been very targeted, and we've always said right the way through that we want to have these kind of mandated diversity metrics because, you know, you only know what you know. So if we were intentional about having mandated diversity of age and gender and sub-region and sector and culture, we were confident that we would get a more robust outcome. That does not mean to say it has been an easy thing to achieve, because it definitely hasn't. Have you seen this approach taken anywhere else? That what CTT has gone through?
Not specifically. I guess if I look around, there's another region well away from our largest domestic market who are having a crack at it. And I've heard of international examples that are doing something like this. And theirs is aligning a regional produce with specific markets and building a brand for their region around it. And I guess while we're not following someone else's model, we're always learning from what others do and adding it to what it is we're developing.
It's all very well to talk about our big, lofty ambitions and all these great things. But for everyday people working in businesses and on farming systems, what is it that you think that they will see as a result of success in collaboration Taitokido?
I think they will see opportunities to participate in something that will make their lives more interesting because they'll have connections beyond the networks that they've got now. So that's sort of the social, cultural side of it. And I anticipate that there will be significant economic benefit that will spin with it as well.
Mm. And by that you mean in terms of increasing that relationship with our biggest domestic market in terms of products into Auckland, and that the kind of like appealing to that emotional buyer marketing work as well?
Yep, that's it. Create the emotional market and then sell it, sell your produce and your service at a premium.
All around the region, there are pockets of people with brilliant but similar ideas thinking, maybe I can make it work here, but how can we make it work at a bigger scale? And the part that's really exciting for me is thinking about someone getting in touch, finding out that actually the idea or the brave concept that they've been wanting to try, there's actually others thinking about it, already doing it in different sectors and different sub-regions, and CTT can kind of support them to collectively go and chase that vision. That's the part that gets me really excited.
Yes, it's intent on being inclusive, and I guess it's worth repeating at this stage. An important thing that we haven't really focused on in the conversation yet is that this is not being driven by an agency who have been given a mandate, a political mandate, or any other mandate. We're looking for this to be something where the producers and the suppliers and the operators come together and look at it through their lens of what they need to do to make their business and their lives, or to enhance their business and their lives. Mm. And if we can facilitate that process of bringing people together to do that, for me, I see that as my task, is to help facilitate that bringing together. And I also believe that if those producers and service providers are the ones who are driving it, we'll end up with something that they're comfortable to do, as opposed to inflicting, this is what you've got to do because this is how we see the model working.
One of our core values as an entity is that whole enduring. We've got to be enduring to withstand all the changes that come in terms of different cycles of things, whether that's funding or leadership or whatever that is, but creating something that's really sustainable and enduring will carry us through, hopefully.
Yeah, and I guess the environment that we live and work in, this might be getting off topic, is that there is so much change going on in people's lives. And that rate and volume of change can be quite distressing for many. Mm. And how do you create something well, it's a bit like the life ring. How do you put something there? They go, yes, this is me. I'm going to hang on to this because I see this is going to ride me through.
Yeah. So if we look back on the journey so far, so we have had 6 key hui. The first was in March 2021, when we kind of kicked off and explored this idea of the sector navigators, who did an amazing job identifying and bringing together these future thinking producers that came along to the collaboration hui. That was in June of 2022, which got delayed twice. Big shout out to COVID. So that was 41 producers, 13 different sectors, and was at the Waitangi Treaty Grounds, where we shared stories, co-designed 4 project areas that the group would like to collectively work on. Then in October of 2022, we ran 4 action hui, 1 for each project area, to develop these areas of interest into projects. It was at these engagements that we really realized we could aim higher. Instead of having 3 projects independently running, we could actually bring them together by creating an innovative, collaborative structure underpinned by a shared commitment to values that we articulated as a group. Our last hui was in November 2022, where the strategy to run the collaborative projects together was finalised and the collaborative structure was designed. We've stood up the interim governance group to guide us until the end of March. And that has been a bit of a recap for you of the journey we've been on so far, as well as so many calls, so many impromptu meetings. So when I list it out like that and kind of summarize and remind you of all the different components of the last 2 years, how does that make you feel? And what are some of the key moments that stick out from that journey for you?
My feeling is that it's been fun.
That's good.
And the key moments, the first key moment for me on reflection would be watching you. When you came to understand what this could be and then engaging your energy and your passion in it. At that point, I thought, oh, crikey, we can make this work. So it just takes one person to make you go, actually, we can make this work. Another thing would be
it's made me really emotional.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another thing is the diversity of the people who participated in that first hui. So we're talking cultural, we're talking their enterprise activity, we're talking about their gender, their age. It was a real mix-up. It was wonderful. And just watching their desire, not all of them, but most of them, their desire to be part of something that was regionally significant. They bought into what we were promoting. That was pretty exciting. And the next bit, so for me, it's now watching the determination of that interim governance group to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. So it's gone from you and I sitting there going, this is a great idea, to now we've actually talked to some people, we've got some feedback on it. We've got these small networks around who go, oh yeah, there's a point where I will engage more strongly than I am at the moment. And that's fine. They're out there, but we do have this small group, and they can make it happen.
Yeah, we are very lucky to have our incredible interim governance group /champion/friends involved in that. And actually, the next podcast is going to be interviewing some of them and some other producers who are involved in CTT to kind of capture their thoughts and energy. So a little bit of a shout out for number 2. Stay tuned if you want to hear from those cool people. Well, thank you for that unscripted praise. I'll pay you for that little plug later. I think for me, some of the key moments, I remember vividly after that collaboration hui, the first one, or the big one rather, we finished, everyone left, we sat down, we're clearing up the tables, and I got so emotional. I just felt this wave of gratitude, but also a weight had been lifted, because I feel like when you're trying to get things going, you take on so much, and it's this big weight on you. And then throughout that day, just watching people being oh yeah, I can get on board with this. Oh yeah, we could do it this way. And it really worked. So at the end of the day, I felt like the weight had been lifted, because I felt like other people were going to pick up that mantle with us and run with it. And I just remember that sense of emotion and gratitude and a bit of relief that it wasn't just us, that there were others that felt this way, and we were kind of going to go and do it together. And that's really still the culture that exists within the group, of that let's do it together, which I'm very grateful for. And I don't think you can create that artificially. I think that comes naturally and authentically from a real place of love, real place of afi. So,
and what you've highlighted there is that it takes a small group of, I'll call them brave people. They don't have to be smart. They just have to be brave enough to put their heads up and say, we should do this thing. And you have to be thoughtful about that. And I believe that we were in bringing this forward. We were thoughtful in what it was we were promoting. We were thoughtful in the way that we would present it to people and the process that would bring people to the point where they were exposed to the idea. And that was the big hooey. And our journey to get to that was not, there was no straight line in it. It was, well, will this work? Oh, heck no, we'll have to do something different. And absolutely, hats off to you. Most people would have run away and said, oh, God, this is too hard. Let's go and find something easier to do.
Mm. Well, we had such an amazing team, and also big shout out to our primary funder, MPI, the Sustainable Food and Fibre Futures Fund, which is always fun to say, because they really worked in partnership with us and were super willing to acknowledge and work around the disruptions that, crippled every good initiative during the times of COVID, when face-to-face kanohi, kite kanohi connection was is still absolutely pivotal for Collaboration Taitokido being and delivering what it needs to do. So, Dana, our facilitator, obviously, the amazing Dana Carver, and the team at Scarlatti did an amazing job of creating an environment where people felt empowered. So, more than just us, it was that kind of next layer of people around us who we couldn't have done it without. So it may take a few to get things going, but it takes a village to keep that resilience up, doesn't it?
And I guess the other part, just thinking about it around this bravery part, is that when you go out with something like this, you put your personal credibility on the line. Absolutely. You are exposed.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to expose your credibility in something like this. Because for you, being younger than me, that's your future. And for me, it's my legacy. So for both of us, for different reasons. And for anybody else who's involved in it, we have to protect their credibility by making sure that we understand what it is we say we're going to do, and that having said this is what we're going to do, we make it happen.
A really interesting part of the CTT structure that kind of came to life in the 4 action hui was this whole idea that Collaboration Taitokido is grounded in some core values, and that everything we do across, doesn't matter what kind of project it is that we're supporting and moving forward, that we are always basing ourselves in some core values, which obviously include being grounded in our people, our place, and our culture, so that we are collaborative, future-focused, authentic, self-determining, and diverse. Why do you think that this part of the Collaboration Taitokido initiative is so important and will help us be more successful?
The initiative is about people. And we've sort of talked about credibility, and for people to participate, again, they don't want to put their credibility at risk. And those values are something that became common ground, where we said, yes, if those are in place, that is a means for protecting our credibility. The other piece that sits with us, and behind it, I guess, is that the whole thing is a progression. We never believed at the front end that we had all the answers for it. And it's one of the joys of the process that we've followed, that we have the scope to introduce values, which some might reflect and say, well, you should have thought about that earlier. But even if we'd thought about it, they would have been our values rather than the collective values of those who want to participate. Yeah. And I'm sure, just as we are asking for ideas and projects within this initiative that will really make the difference. I mean, we can talk about it all day long, but at some stage we have to actually nail something and deliver that. And we have to show some social benefit. We have to show some economic benefit. And again, it's not for you or I to say this is what we should go and do. We may have ideas that we put in the pot, but this thing will follow its own path and get to those things. We've just got to make sure that it doesn't stall on the path.
Yeah, momentum and delivery.
Yep.
That is our job. And I'm really excited about the 3 project areas that, the process that we've followed has kind of created for us, which, just for those listening, is around that the long-term outcomes at this stage of the development and thinking and design of Collaboration Taitokido is that Taitokido food, fibre and beverage industries are the workplaces of choice, that Aotearoa in the world is buying more Taitokido primary industry products, and that Taitokido is optimizing its land use. So those 3 areas, when we asked all the producers through all the different hui and engagements and versions of things that we've held over the last 2 years, when we asked people, what are the 3 areas that you want to work on together to develop further and to go further, those are the 3 areas: workplaces and workforces that are fit for purpose for the future, that whole relationship with our primary industry products, actually more than that, not just primary industry products, but the whole products and services that Taitokido has to offer, and that optimization of land use. So those are some pretty exciting, but also some pretty huge areas that we've already kind of set up to work towards tackling. Does it make you feel excited, overwhelmed, anxious, brave when you think about those areas?
Overwhelmed and anxious, no. And it might be just my nature where I say, well, so let's be doing something.
Yeah.
Let's get out the picks and shovels and make a difference.
How can people and producers, business owners, and people out there working on farms right now get involved in Collaboration Taitokido?
I guess the first point is that this is not an exclusive club, and the door remains open for those who sense an opportunity and just want to be part of the challenge. Come and participate. Come and have a look. And it's the best way to understand if this is fun that you'd like to be a part of. We've drunk the Kool-Aid. Come and have some.
Oh my God, we are so deep in the Kool-Aid. We are the Kool-Aid makers. For anyone listening that wants to get involved, you can get more information by visiting our website, which is collaborationtt.nz.
Northland. Collaboration.